I woke up to the sound of screaming. My wife wasn't in bed. I sat up. She was always a light sleeper. Something was wrong. I swung my legs over the side of the bed and felt for my slippers. Where was she? What was that noise? I padded out into the hallway, heart beginning to pound. There were no lights on. I could just make out the shapes of things in the darkness. Our son's toys lay scattered in the living room. Had he been playing after we told him to go to sleep? I walked into the kitchen. My wife was standing at the counter staring at the clock. It was stopped. That was impossible. She never set an alarm, but every morning at precisely 7:30, her internal clock would wake her up. For years it had been our private joke. Ha ha, 7:30. We'd say to each other in the morning. She was frozen, staring at the clock. The second hand wasn't moving. Hey, what's wrong? I asked. Still she didn't answer me. Instead, she turned around, her face white as a sheet. She had dark circles under her eyes like she hadn't slept in days. Then she began to cry. And when she did, I knew something was really wrong. Hey, honey, what is it? Is everything okay? She shook her head, tears streaming down her face. I don't know, she whispered. I haven't slept a wink. I couldn't sleep last night. Then I got up to use the bathroom, and that's when I saw it. I thought, oh good, the clock says 7:30, but it didn't. It was then it just occurred to me. She looked back at the clock. It hasn't ticked once since yesterday. It's like time stopped. I followed her gaze to the clock. Couldn't believe what I was seeing. It was 1 minute past 7. The clock hadn't ticked since the incident. What incident? Well, you see, that's the thing. This story starts with the death of my daughter. It happened 4 years ago today. We were coming home from the hospital. She was only a few hours old. We'd named her Eleanor June. But Ellie June. We'd just dropped her off at her grandmother's house. I remember because that's where we picked up the clock. We wanted to surprise our mothers with a matching pair of clocks, one for each of their houses. We got them both right here at this little antique shop. It looks so nice, all ornate and golden. They even chime. That chime can be annoying after a while. So we wound them up to silent. We put the clocks on the counters and then we went out for dinner. Parked the car and walked into the restaurant. It was there we found out about Ellie June. The umbilical cord around her neck had been too tight. Despite the best efforts of doctors, she'd choked herself to death. After the funeral, we returned to the antique clock shop. We told the owner about the tragedy. We told her we couldn't keep the clocks now. She was very kind and offered us a full refund. But we told her we couldn't take the money. It wouldn't bring our baby back. Besides, we said, the clocks are still beautiful. We'll keep them. As we drove home, my wife said, maybe we should have taken the refund. I squeezed her hand. No, let's not talk about it now. Let's just get home. As soon as we stepped inside, we heard a tick-tock from the corner. The clock on the counter had started ticking. At first, we just ignored it. Then we realized it must have started ticking in the car. It chimed twice to indicate it was 7:30. Then it stopped again. We laughed at how ridiculous it all was. How could a clock that was supposed to be silenced chime? Then we started arguing. I said it was funny and silly. She said it was rude and disrespectful to Ellie June. It hadn't stopped ticking yet. My wife cried, "Turn it off," as I wound it up. She cried some more, then she left the room. That was the last time she ever smiled. My wife never took the clocks back. She refused to even look at them. I couldn't hear the ticks without feeling uneasy, so I covered them with a cloth. When I got home from work each day, I'd take the cloth off, check the clock. At first, they chimed every hour. Then they chimed less and less, until finally they stopped altogether. It's been 5 years, till this morning. I never checked the clock after 7:30. I didn't want to know what time it was. I knew the clocks weren't working. I could hear the seconds ticking. I could feel them crawling by. Time was passing, but these clocks weren't doing anything. Not until this morning. The hands were frozen in place. The clock hadn't ticked since the day we buried our baby girl. 5 years. That's how long we've been here. The clocks haven't worked. In this house we haven't slept. In this house we haven't lived. We've just existed. That's why I was so confused when I saw the clock, its hands creeping closer to 8 o'clock. I ran to the window and looked out. It was dark outside, but I could see the streetlights coming on. People were walking around. They were going to work or school or wherever they needed to be. Life was happening outside. Meanwhile, here we were, trapped in this house, locked behind a wall of silence. I walked back to my wife, who was still staring at the clock. She didn't seem to realize I'd come back. I stood there watching her for a moment. She looked so fragile, so small. It's amazing how much weight she's lost. Her arms and legs are almost skeletal. Every part of her body except her stomach has wasted away. She's skin and bones. But her belly sticks out like she's 6 months pregnant. And that's when it hit me. That's why she's been crying. She's pregnant. For a moment, I just stared at her in shock. She's pregnant. She was actually pregnant. For years, we've been trying to get pregnant. For years of nothing. The doctor said it was probably my fault, that I'd suffered some kind of damage during the war. I had been a medic in Afghanistan. I saw things that no person should ever see. It's no wonder I can't sleep. But it doesn't matter, because miraculously, my wife is pregnant. Tears streamed down her face. She looked up at me, her eyes wide and scared. I don't want a baby, she whispered. I can't take care of a baby. What if something happens to it? What if I lose it? I ran to her and wrapped her in the tightest hug ever. It's okay, I murmured into her hair. You won't lose it. You won't lose anything. Everything will be fine. I looked at the clock. It was 7:45. I held my wife close and waited for the inevitable chime. It didn't come. That evening, I researched online. The clock was designed to chime at 7:30, every 7:30, but now it had stopped. Why was it broken? Was it fixed? I didn't know. I couldn't know. All I knew was that I didn't want to wind it up. What if winding it up made it start working? What if it chimed at 7:30? Couldn't risk it. I carried my wife to bed. She kept crying, so I stayed with her. We laid there in silence until she fell asleep. That's when I got up and walked over to the clock. I could feel my heart pounding. My breath was fast and shallow. I knew I shouldn't do it, but I needed to know. So I took the cloth off the clock and wound it up. Then I raced back to bed. I curled up next to my wife and pulled the covers over my head. I peeked out from under the covers. The clock chimed. Chimed once, twice, 3 times. Then it stopped.